want to be when you grow up? Were you asked this question as a child? Have you ever asked this question? This question suggests that growing up is a finite place we get to, a point in time, a point in life. But of course it isn't. We're constantly growing and evolving as we journey through the different seasons of life. I like to think of life as a book, with different seasons split into chapters. Who we are and what we want in one chapter may look very different in another. And equally, how we define success in one chapter may look very different in another. But here's the problem. We don't always know when it's time for a chapter change. Unlike school, where we have, end of term, end of semester, start of academic year, there isn't always a natural break point in life to alert you to a chapter change. Let's consider this. You're in a chapter. Life is okay, maybe even good. But you've been in this chapter so long, you've gotten comfortable. You could even say that you've reached a plateau of mediocrity. You're surviving. You're no longer thriving. This leaves you asking, now what? In my line of work at Ziano Mind Spa, I meet many women, typically professional women. They want to navigate to a major change in their life, but they don't know what that change looks like because they've been comfortable. They feel stuck, they feel trapped, they feel lost. They ask themselves, now what? Did I mention that I was one of these women? It was a cold, dark, wet January evening in London, UK. I sat in the small meeting room of the office building where I worked. I was about to deliver an update on a significant business proposal that I was responsible for delivering. A proposal which had robbed me of many hours of sleep. I was tired, I was drained, physically, emotionally, and mentally. There were 6 colleagues present in this meeting. I knew that this meeting had the potential to be challenging. What I didn't know was that it would result in a chapter change. This proposal represented a significant business change, a step out of business structure. And as I said, it had robbed me of many hours of sleep. The meeting started pleasantly enough. And then it was time for my update. We need more data. We need more analysis. We need more time. At first, there was silence. And then out it came. All hell broke loose. What do you mean you need more time? How much more time could you possibly want? This is ridiculous. It is awful. I cannot believe you have the nerve to stand there and tell me you need more time. These words came from the mouth of a senior executive. His voice got louder and louder. At one point he paused. And I said, we need more time because this is a significant business change. We need more analysis. We need more data. That didn't help. The voice got louder and angrier. And this room was so small, the walls literally started to vibrate and my hands started to shake violently. I had to hold on to the edges of the table to steady myself as beads of sweat dripped down my face. At one point, my mouth opened. I couldn't have trusted what would have come out. I looked out of the small window, wondering how my almost 30-year corporate career had come to this. Emotions were running wild within me. And then my mouth closed. I looked back in the room. All eyes were looking at me, waiting for a response. I didn't say a word. I heard two words, two very, very quiet words in my head. Two words were, "Not today." Thank you. A wise man I know said that sometimes we tiptoe through life like we're trying not to wake anyone up, when in fact it is us who are sleeping. I knew at that point that I had been sleeping. I'd been sleeping on my own life. I knew at that point it was time for me to wake up and change chapter. I asked myself, now what? So maybe this is you. Maybe you've been in wherever you are in your life, you've become comfortable, but something is calling you, telling you that there's more. You don't know what more is, but you know that there has got to be more to your life than this. Maybe, just maybe, that's life's way of alerting you, tapping you on your shoulders, saying, chapter change, chapter change, chapter change. Sometimes life events can cause a chapter change, you know. Death, divorce, debt, relocation. And sometimes world events cause a chapter change. The global pandemic has resulted in what is commonly known as the Big Quit or the Great Resignation. And CBS have reported that over 20 million people in the USA alone quit their jobs in the second half of 2021. Karen Kimbrough, the chief economist of LinkedIn, said that the pandemic has caused people a moment of reflection to think, what do I want? What makes my heart sing? And if not now, then when? The theme for today's event is beyond statistics. I know without a shadow of doubt that we have chapters in our lives that don't care much for statistics. They don't care about the targets, the goals, the achievements, the accomplishments that we achieved in a different chapter. They care about meaning, about impact, about legacy. They care about living a life with no regrets. But you may say to me, all right, and then you know what, that's all well and good, but where do I find the stuff I put into this next chapter? I'd like to share with you 3 places where they may well be hiding in plain sight. The first place, ask your 4-year-old self. If you met your 4-year-old self today, what promises would they tell you that you haven't yet kept? And I don't mean the actual thing, you're not 4 years old, you're grown up. I mean the experiences, I mean the meaning, I mean the legacy, I mean the impact. The second place, ask your deathbed self. If today were your last day on earth, what regrets would you have? Bronnie Ware, a nurse who looked after patients who were dying, did a piece of research on her patients. She asked them what their top regrets were. The number one was I wish I had the courage to live a life that was true to myself, and not one that was expected of me by others. The third place, ask your current self, what meaning, what impact, what legacy do you wish you had? Bring all those experiences. Get hold of the most magical pen you can find, the most beautiful paper, and start writing this next chapter. The beauty of this next chapter is that you get to hold the pen that writes it. It's your story. It's your chapter. Take control of it. If you knew that you were the author of the story that runs your life, what story would you write?